There is little in the transition to EVs that seems to discomfort potential EV drivers quite so much as the switch from the now banal but still unpleasant process of filling a car with gas to the process of charging an EV at home, or even more anxiety-inducing for some newcomers, charging at a public charger. Charging's the area that prompts the most questions, particularly for those not entering the Tesla ecosystem. Charging at home is generally a delight as long as you have somewhere to park and a home charger. It just involves a couple of extra seconds when you get home to ensure that you leave home each day with enough charge for a typical day's driving. But for those of us living outside the Tesla ecosystem, driving for long distances has typically been a little more hit and miss. While the having enough charges to go pretty much anywhere bit has definitely come on in leaps and bounds, the plug it in and it just works bit, that's still got a ways to go, but that gradually seems to be changing with something called plug and charge. But what is it? Does your EV have it? And how does it work? Before we get started today, a little reminder to hit subscribe and click that notification bell. It really helps when the omnipotent YouTube gods know that you're interested in our videos, which means they promote us. Also, if you want to help us keep our awesome new editor in food and shelter, you can support him and us from just $1 a month. More about that at the end of the video. Although I first drove a Tesla way back in 2012, it's been a bit since I got to play in that ecosystem. And as Tesla owners know, Tesla's supercharging network is largely a delight. And just before the holidays, when we went on a road trip to San Diego from Portland, I got to spend some time out of my usual Kia Niro and behind the wheel of a Model 3, and I have to admit there was something rather enjoyable about slipping that powerful, smooth connector snugly home into the depths of Glyph's deliciously engineered socket. Feeling the throbbing surge of electrons pouring from that tall yet slender charger, its thick cable delivering a surge of electrical energy. Sorry. But seriously, there is something wonderfully simple and quick in the Tesla charging experience. Pop that connector in, wait a few seconds for the charger to authenticate the car, and the little green light flashes as it sucks in the power, revoltingly quickly. Having driven EVs for over a decade, I've seen some dramatic improvements, but charging for many non-Tesla EVs on a road trip can still require an ungodly agglomeration of apps, RFID tags, and recurrently non-functional credit card readers. Thankfully, we've started to see interoperability agreements or roaming agreements between some of the different charging networks, meaning that you can pay for your charging session from multiple networks just using your account on one of the networks. And that has vastly reduced the number of networks where you have to pre-register. And that's probably because we've started to move from a world in which DC rapid charging was an uncommon occurrence. Gone are the days where you might only have one lone charger in the middle of a vast desert and you might be the only person to use it that week. So charger plus a prayer to the deity of your choice was all that you needed. Now, in some places, there will be multiple chargers from multiple suppliers in one parking lot, all vying to get your money. Along with the exponential increase in the number of people driving EVs, that competition means that having a smooth, functional charging experience has become more of a priority for charging vendors. Similarly, for automakers trying to lure buyers away from the charms of Tesla's It Just Works charging network, having a system where you plug in your car and it charges without any other intervention is an appealing prospect. And with plug and charge, that is a reality now for some vehicles, even ones without a Tesla badge. That list of cars is currently quite short, but getting longer with each new that comes to market, where automakers have really focused on the consumer experience. And it's a feature that, if you want that kind of convenience, you need to look for specific cars because it requires both hardware and software, and even now there are coming to market without both. Now, what might come as a surprise to you all is that plug and charge has actually been around as a standard since 2014, but getting all those different charging providers and all the automakers to agree on how the background bits of the car and charger identifying each other and passing that information to the charging provider, and then the charging provider taking that information and authenticating payment from whoever holds the payment details. That has proven to be the bit that's taken a while to work out. In fact, while the standard has existed since 2014, no one actually worked out how that authentication bit would fully work and implemented it until 2018. But now that the standard's been agreed on, we've seen several automakers sign on, although it should be said that Tesla led the pack here again because the protocol it uses to authenticate on superchargers is a proprietary version of plug and charge. So all supercharger-capable Teslas have a form of plug and charge which should make any theoretical North American CCS-equipped Teslas in the future easy to equip with the feature. Currently, the non-Tesla list consists of Volkswagen's ID.5, and VW have suggested that the feature will be rolled out to the ID.4 and ID.3 through an OTA update. Ford, of course, has the Mach-E and the upcoming Lightning F-150. And Lucid's Air comes with standard plug and charge. The Mercedes EQS has it, and thanks to Mercedes for clarifying this, all future EQ vehicles will too. And Porsche's Taycan, at least those produced from 2021 onwards, have plug and charge. Audi has long promised that the e-tron and siblings will have plug and charge, and per Audi, every new e-tron produced after calendar week 48 of 2021 has it. However, older e-trons can't have it retrofitted. And from Korea, Hyundai's Ioniq 5 has it, and so probably also, since they share a platform, the Kia EV6. If you're wondering about the Subaru Solterra and the Toyota BZ4X, will they have plug and charge? I don't know. We reached out to both Subaru and Toyota and were just directed to the existing product release information, which doesn't mention it, which is unhelpful. And in cars that you think will but don't, there's the Polestar 2. Polestar said it's working on it, but it doesn't have a date to share, which is a little disappointing. And in other cars that we can't answer that question about, GM and BMW didn't answer the question, and it's not currently a listed feature. Okay, so if you're lucky enough to have one of these shiny vehicles, how does it work? How it works for you, the user, is pretty simple. The first thing you need to do is set up payment details. This will usually be through a charging station provider. In the US, you're mainly looking at Electrify America, although if your car comes with complimentary charging, which many do for the first few years of ownership, then you'll just have to follow the instructions from your manufacturer. Then to charge, all you have to do is plug the car into a compatible charger on a network you're already registered on, or which has a roaming agreement with the network you've registered on, and wait a moment. The car and the charger will have a nice chat about things, and then the charger will start supplying electrons. At the moment, the majority of chargers in the US that support plug and charge are on the Electrify America network, and in Europe, both the Fastned and Ionity networks in general support plug and charge. Interestingly, on Fastned in Europe, some cars that don't support plug and charge, but which do still provide a unique code to the charger, can be set up with a Fastned account to act like a plug and charge vehicle at Fastned charging stations. Nice. It is advisable just to keep an eye on the charger until it starts charging to check that everything did work, something that's worth doing with a Tesla 2 for what it's worth. And it can take a little bit of time to authenticate, but in our experience it's been pretty reliable. And this is something that will just keep getting better and better as charging providers refine it further. Of course, there is one other thing to think about with plug and charge. If you've got it enabled on a car and you lend that car to someone, you're effectively lending out your credit card. More so as some cars are starting to integrate payment options for, say, fast food and coffee into the car's payment abilities. So when you sell it, you definitely need to delete your payment information from the car and the associated account, and you need to trust who you're lending it to when you're lending it out. But otherwise, it's a world away from finding and waving an RFID tag against a broken reader, swearing lots, and hunting for an alternative, which was never fun. Is plug and charge something that you'll be looking for in your next vehicle, or are you happy using the apps and credit cards? Does it bother you that you're adding the car as an additional family member on the credit card? Let us know in the comments below. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to leave your thoughts below or in our free to join Discord chat room. There's a link below. If you haven't already, make sure you've subscribed to this channel and our other channel, Transport Evolved Take 2. That one's for our longer takes and slightly more eclectic videos. Thanks on behalf of the entire TE crew go out to the folks on my right for being our $15 to $49 a month patrons. Special thanks to our $50 a month patrons, Chris Maxwell, Brian Newton, Jason Bodor, David Kitchen, Michael Goad, Ricky Leong, Andrew Martin, Guido Drahota, Brophy Wolf, Tezza in the Gong, Gordon C., Stephen O'Donoghue, Kyle Hodgson, Anthony Coates, Regine Fellows, Rory Litwin, Anonymous Freak, Jim Burness, and Denny Hyde. And our deepest gratitude to our $100 a month Patreon supporters, Marcel Ward, Reggie Watts, Joe Bresney, JP Fagerback, Will Graylin, Matthew Drobnak, John Lyons, Christopher Lee Jones, Laura Reynolds, Paul Conway, Ellery Hensley, and Ian. Feeling left out? You can join Patreon at the link below, or show us your support through Bitcoin, Ko-fi, or our cool swag store. Links, as always, below. Thanks for joining me, and as always, keep evolving.